Hey everyone, welcome back to Heartland Mama. Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from our socially distant separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous work at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, and part of the Demcast network. Look for us there, all podcast platforms, and of course YouTube and on the live stream. So, Murray, today we're going to talk about sandstorms, locusts, and mosquitoes.
Oh
Oh my!
my! Sandstorms, locusts, and mosquitoes.
Mhm.
Okay, folks. So, one of these things is not like the other.
Right.
Right now, we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic that is ravaging the entire world, in
And ramping
particular,
up.
and not going away anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
We have the United States, which we are investigating why $14 billion wasn't spent on testing. And Dr. Fauci is testifying today. We have lots of important cases before the Supreme Court. We have an election that will probably be fraud laden. Well, there's so many things going on. Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter and the movement and what that means, and police, and we still have protests. And
In
well,
my
we tend to overlook some things
yeah.
that kind of important.
Yeah.
And so, we need to talk about the things happening in the world and how the world is either
Right.
trying to cause us to go extinct or, we are parasites. Maybe it's the world getting rid of us. Heidi, you mentioned something when we were planning this show,
Yeah.
and we had talked about this actually in a past episode, and it's really been concerning to you, and that is locusts.
Well,
So
uh,
talk to us about the locusts.
here's the thing about the locusts. The locusts are not native to the United States. The only thing we can have close to that would be a grasshopper, not a cicada, which is like a cricket, but a grasshopper. And we don't have plagues of grasshoppers, biblical plagues. But in the Middle East, in the northern Africa, they have locust storms, and the locust storms are clouds of locusts. And the problem with having a locust storm right now, or a swarm, is that the people in India, in the Horn, or not the Horn of Africa, but into the Arabian Peninsula, the north part of Africa, they're already reeling from COVID-19. It is hot, hot, hot in India, and they are really struggling with this. They don't have the resources we have and don't use in the United States, so they're trying to figure this out. Now they have locusts coming, and what do locusts do? They eat everything in their path. They eat everything until they fly out over the Atlantic Ocean, and sometimes they will get as far as South America. But the problem with that is that you have food instability in those areas. You have a raging pandemic virus. Now you're going to have a famine. And I mean a famine like we haven't seen since Bangladesh. That's what's coming. And Somalia.
Whenever there is food insecurity,
Right,
we know for a fact that societies crumble
right,
and dictatorships rise. Food
exactly.
insecurity is one of the fastest ways for people to lose whatever ability they have to speak out. The
Right,
more dependent you become on food for life,
right.
the more easily it is to control that system. So the shorter our resources get, less we are able to produce food, more control that those who get the food into your country have over it.
Well, in India, and I'm going to go back to uh,
You
that
mean
country.
delightful Modi?
Well, Modi has mishandled, like our
Oh
own
yeah.
president, COVID-19, because for some reason they choose to make a virus political. A virus has no political affiliation. I can make the argument that how it's addressed can be political. How you address a virus, how you handle or maintain or contain a virus could be political. But the virus in and of itself is not, nor are the locusts, nor is the sandstorm that we're going to talk about next. But all of these things impact our global world. They impact us here in the United States. And where we've done a really great job in the last 3.5 years of totally ignoring the rest of the world and pretending they don't exist and not helping, we're going to help people survive in North Africa and in the Arabian Peninsula with food subsidy, with helping people just get by. It's going to be a lot of rice because it is the staple of the diet there. But we can't pretend that we live on this earth just the United States. There's a whole lot of water in a whole lot of other countries, and we need to understand that the earth was not created in countries. It was created as one big round thing that goes around and round, and we all share a lot of things, including a pandemic virus right now. So I'm going to move on from locusts, which are going to eat everything in two continents, to the
Hey,
Saharan.
before you move on to
Okay.
locusts, when you were so interested in locusts, I had to look and check. The United States did have a swarm of locusts. Last time locusts were damaging, the last time we had locusts
Mm-hmm.
was 1873,
Was it in Utah?
1877.
Okay.
Rocky Mountains,
Yeah.
$200 million in crop damage
Right.
in Colorado, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska.
Yeah.
So, out $200 million.
In
What's
today's
that?
money? In today's money?
200 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or no, like 150
Well,
years
but
ago?
we don't have a native species to North America, so I'll have to look into that a little bit because, sciencey, geeky person, I like to look that stuff up. But I know we've had plagues of grasshoppers here in the United States, but I don't know about any of you, but all of the pesticides we use to kill the corn borer have killed off almost everything else. We hardly have lightning bugs out by me anymore. That used to be when I moved out here 30 years ago, your windshields were always like, 2, 3 times summer we're going to hit with corn borers, until it was wiped out. The grocery store in town had to turn off its exterior lights to prevent the corn borers from swarming there. When they killed off the
I
corn
kid
borer,
you not.
they killed off the
When
lightning
Stephen,
bugs and
yeah,
grasshoppers.
well, when Steve and I moved back from the West Coast, we had moved out to Nevada for a job for me. And then we came back and we were driving back. We desperately wanted to get home to Illinois. And the corn borer moths were so
Horrible.
insane. Driving through Nebraska,
Yep.
he was asleep. I got an 18-wheeler. I got a truck behind, pulling on a trailer, pulling a truck behind me. We've been
Mm-hmm.
driving for like 16
Yeah.
hours. He's sound asleep and he wakes up and he freaks out because it looked
Like a
like
snowstorm.
the opening of Star Wars. No, with the
Shoo,
zoom,
shoo,
zoom,
shoo, shoo.
zoom. And they're going boom, 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 boom. Thought we went off the road. I fell asleep and we were going through a cornfield. We had no idea what was going on. You're right.
Yeah.
Many of those have disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about
Not that we want
genetically
corn borers.
modified,
We don't want corn borers, okay? But the residual from killing off corn borers is that we lose a lot of other beneficial insects. And we're going to talk about beneficial insects in a little bit. But I do want to talk about the sandstorm because this morning I woke up coughing, and the joke in my house is when my allergies are bad and I cough, my husband goes, "Ooh, COVID, run away." And
yeah,
it is Saharan desert dust that is with us today, ladies and gentlemen. In addition to locusts coming across Africa, uh, Saharan desert dust. They're a little different part of Africa, but it's blowing this way, and it's coming. It hit the lower part of the United States, and it's traveling, through the air currents up through us. It won't really affect much of the western part of the United States, but the eastern half from just west of the Mississippi over is going to be impacted by dust storms for the next 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. And as it travels through and gets in our air currents, it settles and then it'll come back up. It'll be knocked down by rain, but it'll come back up. So if you're coughing and congested right now, it's Saharan desert dust. And I told you, Marie, I've got 2 horses that are allergic to dust. Seriously, people, horses can have COPD. And I've got 2 of them that are really struggling right now. And they both have virtual 4 H fair later this week. So this ought to be interesting. But anyway, that's why you're coughing. It's not COVID for a lot of us, it's allergies, it's dust. So,
so these plumes, they're not uncommon.
no.
They happen typically. They do end up happening between June and August.
Right?
Right, they arrive, and like you said, estimations are they've hit the United States today and will be blowing in. But
Yeah.
again, this is a natural phenomenon.
It
This
truly
is
is.
something that has happened.
Hmm.
I'm certain there's probably something to do with global warming too, but I didn't investigate that.
It's, yeah,
Locusts are also a natural
right.
phenomenon. It is an exponential phenomenon compared to how many locust swarms we usually get.
Yes.
It's much larger than usual,
And Murray,
and there is
there,
some concern that climate
it is
is
climate.
a reason
The Saharan
why.
desert dust in this quantity and locusts in that quantity have direct links to climate change. I mean, that is the existential crisis that we're not dealing with when we try to figure out how to deal with COVID-19 as a patchwork quilt instead of as a unified voice.
All right, Heidi, I got to go somewhere with you.
Okay, let's go.
Death mosquitoes.
Oh, Sextus mosquitoes! Let's go there because that directly impacts the United States. It's going to originate here in the United States, and it's going to suck. And I mean, your blood and everything else.
So, we were talking about we talked about COVID.
Is
That is some thing in nature
right.
that came out and attacked
Mutated.
us all.
Yeah.
No matter how we got
It's a
there, it is
nature-based
a
mutant.
natural
Hmm.
catastrophe. We have our locusts, we have our swarms, and we have our dust.
Clouds.
These are things that are maybe we increased the magnitude of these with our human existence.
Right.
We did not create
We did not create them.
locust swarms.
No.
We did not freaking create dust plumes.
Nope.
So the positive side of dust plumes is it could potentially dampen the severity of any tropical storms we get this year.
I know. Well, there is one upside to sandstorms. So is that it can, and believe me, based on the federal response for hurricane disasters, I think it's a good idea if we don't have any this year. Really good idea if we don't have any this year. Ask anybody in Puerto Rico, and a U.S. Commonwealth, arguably the 51st state of the United States. Actually, it would be the 48th because we commandeered, or 49th, we commandeered them before we commandeered Hawaii. And yet here we are. They are ours. We rule over them, lord over them, and don't help them even though they're part of the United States. And as they try to recover from the last hurricane, I'm glad there's a sandstorm cockblock in the hurricanes, right?
Right? That's a great way of putting it. Sandstorm, cockblocks, hurricane. I think that's a title I'd like to see. And it does feel like we are overwhelmingly being or attempted to be eradicated by the earth itself. Which, hey, Earth, man, we screwed up. I'm okay with that. But what we are also doing is we are creating our own freaking problems.
Yes. Yes.
Whether it is the denial that masks are working and the denial that social distancing is important, as evident in Texas and Florida, or it is, fucking sex, death, mosquitoes.
I know. Well,
Sex, death, mosquitoes. Okay, yes.
Yes.
This sounds crazy.
Well,
right?
so for years we've talked about GMO corn bad, GMO corn bad. Do you know genetically modified organisms can be in anything? And apparently they're in sex, death, mosquitoes, and they are coming to Florida near you. Listen.
In Texas. Okay,
Yeah.
the two hottest spots, aside from Arizona, which Trump is going to tonight. The two hottest, fingers crossed, COVID to lose it too. Maybe he'll get it with enough people there this time. As I said that, I don't give a fuck. Yeah,
Wait.
I thought COVID was nature's way of ridding my dream.
Yeah.
Was when COVID came out that there would be some good that would happen from it, and that would be that all the repugnant, repulsive humans in the world would be affected. Turns out that's not the case, but I was hoping.
Marie, COVID hit exponentially poor people and people of color and elderly people and disabled people. And, we've had 122,000 deaths so far. Now, what we don't talk about is all the people that have recovered. We had somebody in Chicago that was in their 20s that needed a double lung transplant. You don't recover from COVID. You have COPD, so when the Saharan dust storm comes, you can't frickin' breathe and you might die from that. So people need to understand that recovery from COVID-19 looks different in
and
every
have
person.
lifelong ramifications.
Lifelong.
We mentioned this early on.
Stroke risk.
We are focusing, which we have to, on
Yeah.
the immediate response. We're focusing on containing. We're focusing on vaccine. We also need to understand the true financial implications
Long term.
of COVID-19
Decades.
long term.
Decades. And
Our
we don't,
healthcare system,
we
yes.
don't know that these children that are recovering easily may have, now we don't know because it's a novel virus, it means it's new. We don't know if those children will have asthma, increased allergies, COPD, reduced lifespan. We don't know this
Children,
stuff. So
the younger folks are experiencing symptoms very similar of Rocky Mountain spotted
fever.
Yeah. And Lyme's disease, which includes loss of muscle skills,
arthritis,
loss of the ability to speech.
Yep.
See, I think I may have it because kidney failure. So you're right. Now that was a natural thing.
Right.
We have this unnatural, unholy modification.
We need to talk about this.
If we can't GMO food, why the we GMO living insects? And the worst part about this, but just do real quick. So let's talk sex, death, mosquitoes, and how we were playing God, and it's gonna fuck us. So a company named Oxitec they specialize in genetically modifying all different insects to combat nature. Seems kind of jacked up to me, but okay. There is no doubt that cases rising of West Nile, of Zika, over the last 10 years has been extremely threatening, particularly in areas hardest hit by those.
South America, South and Central America, Dengue fever, yellow fever.
Texas, or southern states.
Louisiana also. Mm-hmm. Any backcountry, bayou area. So, but here's what we did is, remember when in 2015, Murray, when Zika was like the big hot button issue, we couldn't stop talking about Zika, and everybody was freaking out and killing mosquitoes like crazy. Remember?
Is it that long ago?
Yeah, it was 2015, 5 years. So what they did is Oxitec created this GMO mosquito, and they released it. They released 450,000 of these GMO genetically modified mosquitoes, male mosquitoes, every week for 29 weeks, or 27 weeks into Jacobina, Brazil, to battle.
Okay, hold 1 second. Yeah. Before we get into that, which I would totally want you to discuss.
Yeah.
Let's tell our listeners what this genetically modified mosquito does.
Go ahead.
So Oxitec created a mosquito that only produces. Let's start back in the beginning. Girl mosquitoes bite, boy mosquitoes don't. Oxitec genetically modified boy mosquitoes to, when they impregnate female mosquitoes, to kill the female larva.
Right.
The whole plan is that as they mate and increase, there will be less and less biting insects. Yay!
So they're supposed to mate with the native species. And in this part of Brazil, this is where the Zika was coming out of. And people here in the United States were freaking out about Zika, but really we never really had Zika. It was contained. The Obama administration contained Zika to where it was at. That was a pandemic that could have been bad, So Zika is transmitted by mosquitoes via blood. COVID-19 is not transmitted via blood. It's just not. It can't go that way. So you don't have to worry about getting COVID from a mosquito. But what they did was they released all of these, and it dropped the mosquito population by 85%, which is pretty amazing, right? However, none of the GMO mosquitoes were supposed to be able to reproduce, Murray, but 3% of them did. 3% of them did.
Actually, they were supposed to reproduce. Oh, yes, but they were supposed to reproduce.
Only males. But 3% were able
male offspring.
Right. 3% were able to reproduce female offspring. Now here's...
And those female offspring happen to be a super genetic...
modified organism.
Pestilent resistant mosquito.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take that 3%, and all this started in 2015
Right?
in Brazil, I'm sorry, in Peru.
Yeah.
No, it was Brazil. What the
It was
heck?
Brazil, yeah.
So all of this started in Brazil in 2015, and as the generations have continued, the super race of virulent, unkillable, mutant mosquitoes has beginning to take over the native population.
Right.
You have created a bigger problem with this genetic modification. So let's fast forward a bit.
Well, wait. I want to explain
And then,
to people one little side note. If anybody remembers back in the early 2000s, late 2019, we had a lot of ladybugs that weren't ladybugs. They called them Asian beetles or Asian bugs. They were more orange. Not only did they proliferate and they were everywhere, they also bit, and they also stunk, right? Now, that was a GM.
oh, we still get them.
Okay, but not in the numbers we did then because they've started to die off. That was a GMO bug that was supposed to eat aphids on soybeans. That's why they got released. Now, they didn't end up doing the job they were supposed to do. They ended up being a pest for all of us to deal with. So that's a small idea of how this can go very wrong. And those ended up being a nuisance pest, not a deadly pest, but now we've created a deadly pest. So go back to what you were saying, Murray.
And why, like Heidi, you were just saying, it dropped the number in the beginning, which was wonderful. Only a small percent became super mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Those super mosquitoes breeded, and now 4 years later, they started to really see the true impact of what had happened here.
Like a Jurassic
Oxitec
Park
must
thing.
have known.
Yeah.
Must have known something was up because they came up with a part duh. So the same bug, though this time modified again. In 2017, they approached the EPA to run some of these studies because, like you said, Americans were panicking about Zika, freaking out. They put together their program and said, "Hey, let us try it out for you."
And Murray, like some of the COVID testing for antibodies, not researched, and they set up their own parameters. They did their own research, they set up their own parameters, they set up their own guidelines, and they submitted it to the EPA for
the EPA said cool.
Well, first they said no. First, Scott Pruitt said no. Well, we all know what happened to Scott Pruitt, and we don't need to go back over that because we've covered that in previous episodes, heartlandmamas.com, if you want to find out. So then we get a new guy in, and our new head of the EPA is
Andrew Wheeler. What a delightful
super polluter
fellow.
Andrew Wheeler. Never met a coal plant he couldn't fire up, you know. I mean, he doesn't care if the earth dies. What does he care? So Andrew Wheeler's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's release these GMO mosquitoes, not in Brazil, not in Peru.
In Texas and in Florida.
In Florida. So look out, Key West. GMO sex death mosquitoes are heading your way, second generation. And you know what? The EPA has not approved the research, or they've just approved the testing to let these mosquitoes out. But nobody has done any research outside of Oxitec on these mosquitoes.
Guess who has done the risk assessment of it?
Oxitec?
Oxitec!
They did their own risk assessment.
Company.
It's just like the antibody tests that don't work. Nobody is steering the fucking ship, Murray, right now. Nobody. Trump never took the wheel, and everybody else is like, I'm not touching it.
It's even worse than that because, you know, the Oxitec, the leader in GM, genetically modified insects. And because this is a new frontier, they're the ones that created the parameters. They're the ones that created the risk assessment.
Yep.
They're the ones that push their own research out.
Right.
No one is verified. The EPA has not done any studies.
Nobody.
They had 31,000 citizens stating that they did not want the release of these genetically modified mosquitoes.
Right.
The EPA denied it. And what gets even more jacked up, think about states' rights.
Right.
We talk. Our Republican friends love to tote states' rights. Right?
Well, that's how they try to justify the Civil War. Oh, it's about states' rights. No, every single exit plan that was submitted was all about slavery. So bite me on that one. It was never about states' rights. So,
No, and then we look at poor Key West. Key West Islands. The county has come out against it.
right?
The citizens have come out against it. The
Right.
business owners have come out against it. Entire segment of Florida where they're going to release these GMO mosquitoes
Sextus mosquitoes.
doesn't want this, and they're
No.
going to anyway. So what are the repercussions from?
Well,
You have a pandemic.
yeah.
You have exploding cases. You have governors that don't listen to the citizens living there, including Greg Abbott in Texas,
Yeah. Oh,
who
God, Greg Abbott.
just yesterday
Yep.
said that he would allow local authorities to put in fines. No,
For wearing
it
masks.
doesn't come out and mandated that the state does. You've got this jackass and DeSantis who says it's all the migrant farm workers that get COVID, nobody else. They are the ones that said, "Yeah, EPA, bring it. Let's do crazy."
Oh,
In the midst,
DeSantis is 100% on board with this. But, what
absolutely.
crappy idea isn't DeSantis on board with? I really, really. He is the most irresponsible person. I hope he ends up in prison for what he's done. All the people he's infected and killed in Florida. And the fact that people...
Abbott is the same way.
Yeah.
Abbott is absolutely no better. In fact,
Oh, yeah.
Abbott may be worse.
Abbott might be worse. And I would, there's a whole lot of red states that are taker states that take money, take money from the northern states, from the blue states. Illinois supports all these welfare queen states, and we know the welfare queen is a myth, except when it comes to states that take our money. And corporations. The problem is that all of these problems, as soon as they land in, because mosquitoes are not sedentary, they fly around, they travel, and as they leave the Keys in Texas and head to Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana,
Illinois.
Well, eventually they'll come up this far. The problem with that is that those are states that can't support themselves anyway, and we end up supporting them. So we're going to support another bad idea. We're going to financially support another bad idea.
But just people, just want to know, at what point did any and all rational, logical thought go out the window? Even if, and this was approved in December of last year.
2019, yeah.
It was a go-ahead and have this experimental program.
When did rational thought leave? It left.
Pandemic.
Yeah, it left
Why?
On Inauguration Day 2017. That's when reason, thought, and skill left the building. That's when
I don't know if we ever had it.
Well, the Obama administration had to deal with the blockage from McConnell all the time in the Senate. But at least the head of the EPA under Obama would never have allowed this to go forward. And especially given what the results in Brazil is. And that's still, 5 years is not a long time to find out how deadly this is going to be, how misguided at best.
And that's just it. Why are we adding
money,
risk,
Marie?
Yes, I know.
I know.
It's mercenary capitalism.
You pay off, somebody in the Trump administration. They'll let you do whatever. We saw that with COVID-19 antibody testing. We saw that with the response to COVID-19. While the United States burned with fever from COVID-19, Trump and his ilk were trying to figure out how much money they could make from testing, from Plaquenil, from anything, treatments, ventilators, anything. Yeah, well, the Plaquenil. I keep calling it by the name that they sell it, at the store with. But when you get a prescription. But here's the problem with that: when everything is sold to the highest dollar, when our safety and health is sold to the highest bidder, we're in a terrible spot. We need guidance that it can't be bought and sold. And we don't have that right now. Everything can be bought and sold. You and I talked about this in December, and then when we finally did a show on COVID-19 after, was it February, we talked about the grift that was involved in preventing the pandemic from coming here. The amount of money that Azar wanted, and that Kushner wanted, and that Trump wanted to be able to control this pandemic, they didn't want to do it unless they could make money. And then when they realized it was killing poor black, brown, elderly, and disabled people, they didn't care. That's not their demographic. They don't care that your grandma died. They don't care that your child that's got spina bifida is sick and is dying. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care that somebody who's got skin darker than theirs is dying. They don't care. And that's how they've handled this. This is how they're handling the mosquitoes. This is how they're handling response to everything. Ask the people in Puerto Rico how unprepared the president is to lead. He can't. He can't get past his bigotry, to do his racism, his greed, his 7 deadly sins that are him, to be able to lead.
His ignorance, his lack
he's sloth.
desire to learn or to understand implications beyond the financial reward.
Anybody who's
or the power reward.
interested
are
in
the only 2 motivating factors for Donald John.
Besides his hair and makeup.
Ego and money. Greed and power.
Yes.
They're the only 2 motivating factors.
Right.
I would love to be able to dig farther in this, and I am doing research, and so are you, and making some calls to see if we can't exactly figure out what the connection between Oxitec and the EPA is.
I haven't been able to uncover that, except for...
And we are working on it.
Yeah, it goes along with Wheeler as a person, just going, yeah, what the fuck, let it go. You know, do it. Do it, do it, do it. It's just how he is as a person. Trump would make no intervention. What did he do today? He signed a proclamation that we can't hire foreign workers anymore. How is he going to staff his resorts? Because he staffs his resorts and hotels with foreign workers.
Whoa, what?
I
missed this?
He signed a proclamation. So it didn't go through Congress, wasn't debated, wasn't voted on. Executive order that we can't hire immigrant workers, legal or otherwise. So that was yesterday.
Okay, I totally missed that one.
Well, and hospitality alone, the
agriculture, Heidi.
Yeah,
agriculture.
Extended healthcare. Go into any nursing home, and you're going to find Filipino people, Mexican people. Huh?
You want to talk about a food desert?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what is happening right now with the COVID being rampant, with the horrible conditions that migrant workers are forced to live in. And those migrant workers are pushing their way up in Florida, and they'll be having the poor genetically modified sex death mosquitoes eating at them as well. They are so sick they cannot harvest what is there, which means it's not getting to us.
This isn't the first time. The big potato deal up in North Dakota or Idaho, where they had potatoes like dumped on the road because of COVID-19, they couldn't bring them to market. You know, the problem with a lot of the produce in Florida is it has to be hand-picked or hand-shook. It doesn't, there's no big machine. Like, we can't combine it like we combine corn. You cannot combine oranges like you combine corn.
You can't drag it like you do cranberries.
Right.
They fall into the water and you scoop them all up.
Right. So how we harvest our stuff, we rely on immigrant labor. And I told you, when I was in college and I had to work in greenhouses, which were still a thing here in the Midwest. Now they're not such a big thing. But watching how they treated the illegal immigrants that they brought in to work for them for pennies on the dollar, and housed them in horrible little house trailers way at the back of the property, and they would cram 20 people into a small house trailer. And if they stepped out of line just a little bit, they would call immigration. They'd wipe them all out, and they'd bring in a whole new group. That's how they're still treated today. That's why every migrant worker should be part of the United Farm Workers. Every single one of them. Every single one of them should be a union card holder. And
we shouldn't be introducing shit we created to make shit worse. I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
We have enough natural disasters.
Yeah.
Between the president, he's a natural disaster in and of himself.
God.
His administration, again.
We'll be 30 years recovering from Trump. 30 years at least.
Deserts, blooms, locusts. We do not need murder hornets. We do not need
murder hornets. I forgot
add
about them.
anything else to our plate. Should be thinking of this in logical terms and not in the terms that we are. So, you know what, guys? The murder. I want to make sure we know the sex death mosquitoes will probably not kill you within the next few years.
No.
If we all survive COVID, at the best case scenario, mosquitoes go away. They decrease.
Yeah.
Most likely scenario, it doesn't decrease and they become resilient.
Yeah.
Worst scenario, they create some sort of new strain of mosquito, which
like
kills
they've done
us.
in Brazil.
But that's looking at they did in Brazil, which is looking at 5 years down the line.
Yeah.
If we survive the next 5 years, you get to look forward to sex death of mosquitoes.
Mutant.
Because we're humans and we're stupid.
Oh, God. You know, somebody told me the other day, oh, no, this has to do with Trump's thing at the church tonight. Franklin Graham said, we don't need science. We have God. And, you know, God gave...
Take science.
Wait. God, you know, part of your operating equipment is a brain. That's like part of the human anatomy. You don't have it by accident. You're supposed to use it. You're supposed to use your brain, reason, skill. And yet Franklin Graham's like, yeah, we don't need those stinking brains. Let's just remove them. Let's find zombies to eat brains, and then everybody will be fine, right? Marie, I can't stand what the Franklin Grahams of this world have done to my religion. I can't. And the other day, that picture of Bugs Bunny sawing off, the other day I saw a cartoon of Bugs Bunny sawing off Florida. I'm all in favor of that. Let it go! Push it away!
One of the states we need to get rid of too while we're at it.
What's that?
With that.
Florida?
All right. Yeah, Texas. I mean, I can count them. So, folks, we have hopefully given you a little bit of understanding on sex death mosquitoes.
Yes.
Why they are especially bad because we made them and created them.
Yes.
Tell me one movie when humans have created something
Jurassic Park.
that has worked out well for us. Never.
Jurassic
we
Park.
are not God.
Jurassic Park was a warning. Contagion was a warning. We have to take...
Seriously? Come on, people. Y'all believe... No offense, Heidi. Y'all believe in a something in the sky that makes everything okay. Y'all should believe in the movies that are telling you this is a bad idea.
Well,
this is a very bad idea.
As a spirit in the sky believer, I can tell you he's probably over there going, oh my God, I gave him a brain for a reason. He, she, whatever.
He's a he.
Are you sure he's a he?
Uh-huh. No, I'm not sure there is either one.
I think, you know, I don't know what I think, except that I think that sex death mosquitoes are a really bad idea. And that if you're, wait, and I have one more thing.
In a normal day and age,
one more thing. We
could write our congressman. We could call the EPA.
You can't.
We can't do that.
My congressman is a complete moron who just walks goose steps.
Probably wants to mate with the sex death mosquito.
Now, there's been a lot of jokes made about him, but he is a recently married man. So
I didn't say anything
We're not
about
going
anything
there.
other than interspecies communication, interspecies relationship.
Oh, God. He gives me a headache.
All right, enough.
Yeah.
What your final closing was, my love. What was your final thought?
I don't remember what I was thinking, what I was going to say. It was another silliness. But anyway, everybody, we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you again Thursday at 11. Heartland Mamas. Oh, wait, this is Thursday.
It's Tuesday.
Is today Thursday? No, today's Tuesday. We'll see you again Thursday at 11.
The mosquitoes have gotten Heidi.
That's entirely possible.
You did say you were having bug problems on the farm.
Well, I got a mosquito bite today, and I never get mosquito bites, so that was weird. So maybe one of them got me. I was out walking the dog at 5:30 in the morning. Anyway, I will let you go. Everybody, see you later. Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com for all of our previous work. Find us on every podcast platform and on YouTube. And of course, we are proudly part of the Demcast network. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you later. We've got a great story for you on Thursday. It's not another plague. But we're going to do a deep dive on something. Wait and tune in. See you later now. Bye-bye.
All right.